Welcome to What If It All Goes Right, the podcast where we flip the script on obstacles and turn them into opportunities. I'm Angela Gargano, 6-time American Ninja Warrior, Miss Fitness America, keynote speaker, and someone who knows firsthand what it's like to face setbacks and wonder, is this for me? I've torn my ACL on national television, worked the 12-hour overnight shifts as a biochemist, and battled my own doubts about how to chase my goals while juggling life's chaos. But through it all, I've learned one powerful truth. It's not about avoiding challenges, it's about how you view them. The difference between success and staying stuck, it's all in your mindset and what you do next. This podcast is here to remind you that every single person you admire has faced obstacles. The real magic happens when you decide to see those hardships as stepping stones to something greater. Each week, we'll dive into powerful stories and practical tools and mindset shifts to help you take control of your life and ask the big question, what if it all goes right? You'll leave each episode empowered, inspired, and equipped with the actionable steps to create the life you've been dreaming of. Because the truth is, you're stronger than you think, and your obstacles are just opportunities in disguise. Let's rewrite your story together. Get ready to feel inspired, take action, and see what happens when you start asking, what if it all goes right? And welcome back to another episode of What If It All Goes Right, the podcast where we flip the script on how we see challenges, setbacks, and opportunities in life. I'm your host, Angela Gargano, and today we're diving into something that's been on my mind. Why are we conditioned to think, what if it all goes wrong? And let's be real, society doesn't make this easy for us. From the news to our social media feeds, we're constantly surrounded by the worst case scenarios and fear-driven messaging. But here's the thing. It's not entirely society's fault. Our brains are actually wired to focus on the negative. And I was listening to a podcast recently that broke this down, and it was fascinating. It explained how our brain's primary job is to keep us safe, which is why it's always scanning for danger or problems. But here's the good news. While we can change how our brains are wired, we can even condition them to think differently. So today, we're going to dive into why our brains default to worst case scenario thinking and how can we become aware of this pattern and, most importantly, take actionable steps to help us shift from what if it's all going wrong to what if it all goes right. Super excited to have you here today, sitting on my floor per usual. This is where I like to sit. I have this really fancy standing desk and another monitor, and I never use it because I like to sit on the floor. And I know it wasn't ergonomic at first, but here we are. So I'm really excited to dive into this sense of what if it all goes wrong, because I feel like it's a very interesting concept because we always are kind of preparing for the worst, right? Like prepare for the worst and hope for the best. But what if we didn't have that mindset? I mean, I get what that phrase is trying to do, but what if we already go into equipped knowing that whatever happens is exactly what it's supposed to happen? What if instead of preparing for the worst case scenario, we just know deep down internally that we're going to be able to handle literally anything that comes our way? And I really do feel like that's a big definition and a piece of being resilient, right? So let's start with the science. Our brains are wired for survival, not for happiness. So there's this concept called the negativity bias. And it's the survival mechanism that dates back to our ancestors. So back then, being hyper-focused on threats like predator or food shortage was literally a matter of a life and death. So fast forward to today, while we're not running from a saber-toothed tiger or a dinosaur anymore, our brains are still by default scanning for that danger. So studies show that negative events have a greater impact on our brain than positive ones. So in fact, researchers have found that it takes about 3 to 5 positive experiences to outweigh the emotional impact of just one negative experience. The amygdala, the fear center of the brain, is more active when processing negative stimuli. This means our brain is hardwired to remember bad things more vividly than good ones. So if you've ever felt like your mind is stuck on the worst case scenario or negative thoughts, know this, it's not your fault. This is literally biology, okay? Losing my biology degree, mom. Hey. But that doesn't mean we have to stay stuck in this pattern. Okay? So, what if we condition our minds to think differently? So, here's where the shift happens. While we can't eliminate our brain's negativity bias, we can train it to focus more on what's going right. Okay? Think of it like building muscle. The more you practice positive, empowering thoughts, the stronger that mental muscle becomes. And over time, it becomes easier to shift from what if it all goes wrong to what if it all goes right. But let's be clear, this isn't about ignoring challenges or pretending everything is going to be perfect. It's about acknowledging what's not going your way without letting it break you and developing an unshakable certainty within yourself that you can handle anything, both good and bad. You have that deep internal trust with yourself. So, how do you shift your thinking? Let's go into some actionable steps because that's what I like to do here. If you're ready to start conditioning your mind to think differently, here are some actionable steps to let you get started. So, one, practice awareness of your thoughts. So, the first step is simply just becoming aware that this is a negative, like you're having a negative thought pattern. So, when you notice your mind is going to worst case scenarios, pause and ask yourself, is this thought actually helpful? Is this fear based or a fact? Or is my brain trying to keep me safe right now? This awareness alone can help you interrupt the cycle of negative thinking. And it's interesting when we think about taking that pause and asking yourself, I really just want you to have that honest conversation with ourselves. Again, if you were a friend and you were phoning a friend for this, the friend would tell you, like, hey, no, like those thoughts are not true, right? Have that same conversation with yourself. It's so powerful to know that we can help ourselves by asking ourselves questions, by getting curious. Okay. Number two, I want you to reframe that worst case scenario. Instead of letting your brain run wild with fear, reframe the situation. Ask yourself, what's the best possible outcome here? Or try this, even if the worst happens, how can I handle it? This helps you see the situation from a more balanced perspective and reminds you that your ability is there to adapt. When we think sometimes about our worst case scenario, and we actually start to ask ourselves that, like, what's the worst case scenario? And wondering, like, am I going to get through it? Like, will I be okay? A lot of times when you think about the worst case scenario, it's like not that bad. Like you're like, oh, like I can do this. I can get through this. I can push through this. So it's really important to remind yourself that you can adapt, right? To really build that muscle that we're talking about. So number three, focus on what is going right. Remember that stat about needing 3 to 5 positive experiences to counterbalance one negative one. Use this to your advantage. At the end of the day, write down 3 things that went well. They don't have to be big. Sometimes it's all as simple as I made it to the gym today or I had a great conversation with a friend. Focus on what's going right. And that's exactly why I like to use the concept of journaling also. What if it all goes right? Because sometimes we don't even know what we want the right to be, right? Like we're like, oh, everything's going wrong. But it's like, do you even know what you want right? Like, what does right look like at all? Like, right can be there's so many different rights. Or what, like my friend here, Dane, he owns the coffee shop Noble Joe, which I go to literally every day. And one of my favorite things, by the way, if Dane's listening to this, one of my favorite things to do is to go out there. And sometimes I don't even need a latte. I just go out there because I just like sitting down and having conversations with Dane. Anyone have somebody like that? But I love when he always says 2 lefts makes a right. I thought that was so funny. Anyways, but really trying to think of yourself of what is that right? Like, what does right actually look like for you? And right could be so many different ways. Number four, build certainty in yourself. So the key to resilience is knowing deep down that you can handle whatever comes your way. So reflect on the past challenges you've overcome. Remind yourself, if I handled that, I can handle this. If you've handled something hard before, you can handle something hard again. You got this. Number five, visualize that best case scenario we talked about. Your brain loves a good visualization. What does that look like? Spend a few minutes each day picturing what would it look like if everything went right. How would you feel? What would you do? Who would you become? Visualization not only shifts your mindset, but also primes your brain to look for opportunities that align with your goals. So much opens up when you start to visualize. And athletes use this, right? I used this when I was doing American Ninja Warrior, when I was doing Miss Fitness America. I would visualize my routines as if I nailed it. How did it feel? What did each move feel like? I wasn't out of breath. Everything felt good. Oof, that visualization. It's powerful. It's so powerful. It could really change your life. So why this matters for me and you, as I've been navigating this transition in my life, which you've probably heard so much about already, so hope you really, you're my buddies on here. As I'm shifting from fitness and focusing my work to something even bigger, even broader, I've had moments where my brain goes straight to the worst case thinking. Like, what if this doesn't work? What if I'm making a wrong move? But then I stop and remind myself, what if this is exactly what I'm supposed to be doing? And I have this urge in the inside of me. What if this transition is leading me to something even greater than I can actually imagine right now? So by conditioning myself to think this way, I've been able to stay clear-headed, focus on what I can control, and keep moving forward, even when things feel uncertain. And so can you. So here's what I want you to take away from today. Your brain is wired to protect you, which is why it defaults to the worst case scenarios. But you're not your brain. You can train it to think differently. Shift your mindset. It takes practice, but the more you focus on what's going right and building certainty in your life, the stronger your resilience becomes. The next time you catch yourself spiraling into that fear, I want you to ask yourself, what if it all goes right? And if this episode resonated with you, I want you to share it with someone who might need a reminder that you're literally built to handle anything. And as always, I want you to keep asking yourself, what if it all goes right? What if it's already going right? Until next time, stay curious, stay resilient, and keep building that mental muscle. You've got this.